So I'm going to give you a presentation about humanoid arms and how with the integrated circuits in gallium nitride we can do integration for arms and the motors in a humanoid robot. I'm Marco Palma. So a humanoid arm is really a complex problem because it has very conflicting requirements. One is that you need to have several degrees of freedom, up to 30 motors in one single arm. And the wrist and the finger, they have a lot of degree of freedoms. Then there is the need of having opposite thumb function to grab the things. And at the same time, the construction has to be a light construction and still a robust assembly. In the meanwhile, having powerful joints so that they can grab things and they can move it. But at the same time, you have a requirement of a heat management because it's really constrained. You cannot have a fan, you cannot have liquids inside the arms. And for sure, you have to have torque control. If you want to grab an egg, you don't have to break it. If you want to grab a piece of glass, you don't have to break it. So all these requirements are really conflicting one with each other. And also it is needed to have, at the end of the day, miniaturization and power efficiency. So it's where gallium nitride starts shining, because gallium nitride is a technology which is horizontal technology. So it's a planar technology and allows to have everything on the surface. The power devices, the low side and high side power devices. Then you can have the high side and low side driving circuit. So you can do a complete half bridge within one single die. And given the very low RDS(on) of the gallium nitride, we can do a very small integrated circuit so that we can go into a small and miniaturization solution. So in 2019, we released the first chip scale package. It was a very simple half bridge with an high side and a low side, 2-gate driver, and just simple logic and under voltage lockout. Very basic construction brick for an inverter. Then in 2021, we introduced the family of a 23102, 104, where we started adding more complexity in the driving section, including anti-shock-through, including standby logic. And up to now, we have already something like seven part numbers. And this one, I want you to focus a little bit on this one, because this one is the one that we are using for the three-phase module, integrated module. It's 8.7 million on the high side and on the low side. It's 100 volt technology and it's capable of 20 amps. So we take this building block, and this building block is having a 5 volt single logic supply. So you apply 5 volt here, and it has a standby mode, so you have a chance to drive the system in standby to reduce the quiescent current. It can have a complementary input or single pin PWM input, cross-conduction prevention to avoid switching on both the high side and low side device, a synchronous MOSFET, which is synchronous with the switch on of the low side so that you can charge the bootstrap capacitor for the high side, and a good level shifter for the high side and matching delay level shifting for the low side. The gate driver are local, so the power, the gate loop is optimized, and even the power loop is optimized. And still there is the chance to do adjustable turn-on DVDT, especially for motor drive where the DVDT is not needed to be that fast. This has also has a power and reset when you turn on for a safe turn on. This is the building block where you clearly see it's monolithic. You have one part which is really the logic interface to the microcontroller, and the other part is the power. And once we put 3 of them in the same package, we have the co-pack of the EPC33110, which is more than 10 amps. Actually, it can go, yes, 20 amp peak per phase, 5 volt single logic supply, a peak FM package with 6 by 6.5 millimeters, so very easy to use on a PCB layout, and still has the standby low PCIM option into it, and a topside cooling, so it's really good to be having dual side cooling. And all the substrates are connected to ground. It's a weak connection. There is some kind of 100 ohm per each of the devices. And the way it is small, it's really suitable, especially for the wrist and for the elbow. And why using gallium nitride then in a humanoid? Then in the next 3 slides, I'm giving really the value of the gallium nitride into humanoid. The gallium nitride device allow to have higher switching frequency in the motor, and that higher switching frequency is reducing the need or eliminating the need of electrolytic capacitors and reduce the motor losses, while the dead time can be reduced to virtually very small. We're using 20 nanoseconds on these devices, and that allows to get higher torque per ampere from the same motor. So this bringing to higher efficiency not only on the inverter, but it's a higher efficiency in the inverter and the motor. And I can show this with this graph. On the vertical axis, you have the losses in terms of what that are lost, that are the losses in the motor, depending on the PWM frequency used with the inverter. On the horizontal graph, you have the frequency that you use, PWM frequency used in the inverter. And then there are 2 inverters. One is a MOSFET inverter, the other one is a GaN FET inverter. They share the same RDS(on), but they have a different switching dissipation with frequency, because the GaN FET inverter have a lower output capacitance. So what happens is that if you drive it with MOSFET and you drive it at 30 kilohertz, then you have 11 watt losses in the motor and 11 watt losses in an inverter. If you just switch to a gallium nitride inverter at the same frequency, you start getting some advantages, but it's marginal. You're just saving 5 watt on the inverter, and it is not really what you want to do. Once now you're using the gallium nitride technology, you need to use it at the proper frequency where the motor is more efficient. That is going 80 kilohertz, for instance. And in this case, then you're getting 6 plus 6 watt of power dissipation, and getting the real advantage of using gallium nitride inverter on the same motor, simply by changing the inverter and increasing the frequency. And then the entire system becomes more efficient. And in fact, if you compare the entire system by looking the total system efficiency from the input voltage, input current, and the output speed and the output torque, then you see that the silicon inverter at 32 kilohertz is always less efficient than the gallium nitride inverter at 80 kilohertz PWM. And the advantage is between 5 to 7% on all systems. So in this show, we're showcasing the EPC 91122 and 91132. They share the same schematic. Simply one is 32 millimeter, the other one is 23 millimeter diameter. And this is the 132. The 122. 122 is the one that is moving the robot arms in the demo there, and also moving the biggest drone in the acrylic box there, where we have all the things that are needed in inverter, including the position sensor. And look, the miniaturization. This is the DC bus, just a couple of ceramic capacitor in the board. And this is the 132, is exactly the same concept, it's just made smaller. And we have everything is needed to drive a motor, and we're showcasing this board in the small drone demo that is on the top of the acrylic box there in the live demo. So when you put it in a humanoid motor, humanoid joint, you see you can put it in exactly inside the motor. That's the reason why we did it in that way. And just this is showing you the real dimension of the board that is needed. This is a comparison from the original MOSFET design and the modified GaNFET design. It's basically half of the area and 1/3 of the volume, and there are no electrolytic capacitors. There's no need for electrolytic capacitors in the GaNFET solution. Our experimental tests on these boards, so we're using dynamometric bands with a speed and torque transducer, and this is the joint motor number 1 with the biggest board. It can go up to 7-9 amps RMS steady state without air convection and without heatsink, or it can do up to 15 amps RMS steady state with the heatsink on top, again without air convection. And for the smallest one, obviously we have now a smaller board. That means without air convection, we can process less current, just a little bit less. We can reach 7 amps RMS without heatsink and without air, and up to 11-12 amps RMS with the heatsink and with the air, without the air again, just with the heatsink. But we also tested this in pulsed fashion, so we braking and then releasing, braking and releasing. So having current that is reaching 28 ampere peak, and then it's a lower amplitude. Why are we doing like this? Because usually in a robot, you have an impulsive current and then you have a lower current. And we tested the small board up to 15 amps RMS, which is 20 amp peak again, and then a smaller current, 5 amps RMS when it's in the light load. And the result in temperature point of view is similar to the result that we saw in the steady state. So both boards can do this type of operation. Obviously, this type of test includes also the losses in the motor. Okay. Given this is showing really that the efficiency gain is everywhere in all the operation, and at different speed and at different torque. These are Newton meter developed by the joint motor, okay? And this is showing where we are heading to. We presented last year the 91122. We're presenting now the 91132, still with the same module. And soon we will arrive with a 4-axis, a new device coming with a 20 by 20 millimeter board. And with this, I presented the 33110. It's a 3-phase GaN micromodule. It has a slightly higher VSON than the original building block because there is the interconnection of the module. There are 2 reference designs, 32 and 23 millimeter diameter. And we tested in 2 motors for humanoid joint, and one of the motor is there moving the head in a live demo. And the experimental test results show that that small module can really process a lot of current and give higher efficiency in the system. Thank you very much.